The night began like any other, with the rhythmic chug of the locomotive cutting through the darkness as the Phantom Express thundered down the tracks. I settled into my seat, the gentle sway of the train lulling me into a sense of peacefulness as I watched the world blur past my window. The compartment was dimly lit, bathed in the soft glow of the overhead lamps, and the rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the tracks provided a soothing backdrop to my thoughts. I had boarded the train in search of adventure, eager to escape the monotony of everyday life and explore the unknown. The promise of distant destinations and new horizons beckoned to me like a siren's call, filling me with a sense of excitement and anticipation as I embarked on this journey into the night. As the hours passed, the landscape outside grew increasingly desolate, the once bustling towns and villages giving way to abandoned buildings and overgrown fields. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch out across the countryside like fingers reaching for the train. Despite the eerie surroundings, I remained undeterred, lost in my own thoughts as the Phantom Express hurtled towards its destination. But as the night wore on and the darkness deepened, a sense of unease began to gnaw at the edges of my consciousness, like a whisper of dread that lingered just beyond the reach of my senses. It started with a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a feeling of oppression that seemed to weigh heavy upon the air. The gentle hum of conversation in the compartment gave way to an uneasy silence, broken only by the occasional cough or shuffle of feet. I glanced around, searching for some sign of what had caused this sudden change, but all I saw were the faces of my fellow passengers, each one wearing a mask of apprehension. And then, without warning, disaster struck. The train lurched to a sudden halt, sending passengers tumbling from their seats as a cacophony of screeching metal and grinding gears filled the air. Panic erupted amongst us as we struggled to regain our bearings, the darkness outside pressing in upon us like a suffocating shroud. I stumbled into the corridor, heart pounding in my chest as I searched for some sign of what had caused the train to stop. But all I found was darkness, impenetrable and all-encompassing, stretching out into infinity in every direction. And then, out of the shadows, they appeared. Strange, twisted figures that seemed to materialize out of thin air, their forms shifting and contorting in the dim light. They moved with an otherworldly grace, gliding through the train with silent intent, their eyes gleaming with an unnatural light that sent shivers coursing down my spine. I watched in horror as they passed by, their presence filling me with a sense of dread unlike anything I had ever experienced before. I tried to call out, to warn my fellow passengers of the impending danger, but my voice caught in my throat, choked off by the sheer terror that gripped me. As the figures vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only the echo of their footsteps, I realized with a sinking feeling that we were not alone. The train had stopped in the midst of a desolate landscape, surrounded by abandoned buildings that loomed ominously in the night. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help, but to my horror, I found that there was no signal. We were stranded, isolated in the darkness, with no way to escape the horrors that lurked outside. As the night stretched on, the shadows grew thicker, twisting and writhing like living things as they enveloped the train in their icy embrace. I could feel their malevolent presence pressing in upon me from all sides, suffocating me with their darkness. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light appeared on the horizon, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. With a sense of relief, I watched as the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, banishing the shadows and illuminating the landscape with a warm golden glow. As the train roared back to life and began to move once more, I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful to leave the horrors of the night behind me. But as we pulled away from the haunted station, I couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness lingered still, waiting patiently for its next unsuspecting victim to wander into its grasp.